Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to this very chilly Sunday evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where you are. In fact, it might not even be all that chilly where you are. It's very chilly here. Thank you for coming out so far in the sandbox. We have Looney Tunes, Morbius Dragon, Emergency Remedial Truth, MIDI Doctors, some of my favorite people to have in the sandbox. So I'll just say, since you're here, you're some of my favorite people. Okay, so we have news. You know, I know it's the weekend and a lot of our regular programming is off for the weekend, but news still seems to keep on happening. And there was actually a pretty big news story in Alberta that I don't think is going to get the coverage it deserves in mainstream media. Just saying, probably not. Same with a lot of the news that I cover. It probably doesn't get all that much recognition in mainstream media, but today I'm wearing my very casual, laid-back, comfy look. You never know with me. I might be all business professional. I might be all bling and color, and sometimes I'm just, you know, in a plaid-like sweater thing with minimal makeup. You never know. You never know. I like being able to express myself in all sorts of different ways. Actually, one thing I would absolutely love to do is be able to do my makeup to make me look more masculine. And not like, you know, drag kings tend to be over-exaggerated, you know, caricatures in a way. I really want something to make me look a little bit more naturally masculine, and I would love to figure out how to drop the pitch of my voice for the times I feel like I'm more male than female. And the thing is that in my video editing program, I can do that. Just drop the pitch and I'm like, wow, so that's what I would sound like if I was a man. And I'd love to be able to just do that naturally. So I guess I can look on YouTube to see if there's tutorials on how to actually just drop the pitch, because whenever I lower my voice, it just sounds like a lady voice that's speaking lower. So it's on my to-do list. This will be the last live stream for a little bit. I am taking my holiday break this upcoming week. So the next live stream after this will be January 24th, providing I can hold out that long. You never know. There might be emergency kind of live streams. If I can get somebody I've been wanting to talk to onto my show, then we might do a live stream then. So I can't say for sure there'll be no live streams during that time, but that's the plan, where I just want to focus on art and I want to focus on starting a schedule. Because one of my goals is to, you know, increase the popularity of my channel to get more views, things of that sort. And in order to do that, I have to start releasing more content. So I do these live streams, and then I always have it in my mind, oh, I need to clip something, and then I never do. So I actually have to start a schedule where I work every day. You know, I either work on videos or I work on my art, because I feel like I'm terribly behind on my art and where I want to be. So if I wake up early, like actually set my alarm, and then also go to the gym and start working out. I need to do that because of my osteoporosis. Apparently building muscle will help, and also I want to. I want to build muscle. I liked it better. I used to have some really nice guns going on, and I'd like to get back there. So that's the plan, and I'm going to use this week off to do that. So instead of relaxing and sleeping in, I'm actually going to be waking up early and going to work. So let's see. Oh, we have a bunch more people hopping in here. Thank you everyone for coming out. Demand better world. Don't know if I've seen you in my chat before. Well, in the sandbox, that's what we call it here, the sandbox. So thank you for popping in. And Bad Lefty and Tyler Hackner, all wonderful people. I'm glad you're in. So let's get to the news. I don't know if you like these rambly intros or not. I've mentioned it before. I kind of do that just to get a feel for the room, a feel for me. You know, it's kind of like when I chat with somebody online, I like to talk offline for about 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time. And, you know, right when I say I'm about to go to the news, then I start rambling about something else. Yeah, ADHD for the win. Okay, let's actually get to the news. Because there's been a lot happening. And as per my normal, we're going to be talking about some issues around Gaza. And I tend not to go for the most shocking, horrific videos out there. A lot of the ones that I have right now, actually all of them, are Canadian-centric. But they're important to cover, so I will cover them. Because you probably won't be seeing it on many other channels. And that's why I am unique here, because I cover Canadian content, because I'm a Canadian content creator. That's kind of my brand. So I should probably cover Canadian stuff. Anyway, I should stop rambling and get to it. Right, let's make this bigger. I always shrink it down when I'm just browsing because I don't like it this big, but then it's easier for everyone to see if I make it bigger for you like this. There we go. Is that good? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So, breaking. Canadian's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau denies that Israel has been committing genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza, saying that his country rejects the premise of South Africa's case at the ICJ, which was described as fact-based and compelling. I really wish he wouldn't say that he's speaking for Canada, because he's not speaking for Canadians here. He's speaking for his own interests, really. That's what this is. It's his own government's interests. But let's see if it is as brash as this tweeter says it is. So we have to go back to the beginning.
Canada has long been a tremendous supporter of the international rules-based order and the process.
That's sounding a bit quiet to me. How's the just want to check, because audio is always an issue. How's the audio for this? Did everyone hear that opening okay? And of course, there's always that delay, so I'll just wait a second and look at some chats while I'm waiting for MIDI doctors. Why is Canada carrying water for Israel? It's a settler colonial solidarity thing. I think that's what it is. It's all the colonial projects out there. They got to stick together, and that's where they get their power. It is, yeah. Can't quite hear him. Okay. Because I don't know if I increase my audio on my actual desktop, if that helps, but I kind of cranked it in OBS. Okay, start from the beginning.
Canada has long been a tremendous supporter of the international rules-based order. And
okay, let me know. Did you hear that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry we have to do that. So just type a 1 if you can hear the video fine. And also, I have some good news to share at the end. Some updates. So there's that. I want to try to end this show with a little bit of you know, some fun stuff. There was a clip from the Majority Report that was just super funny, and they didn't clip it, so I have. Okay, we got a 1, we got some 1s. Okay, so now I know people can hear it. Let's go over it.
Canada has long been a tremendous supporter of the international rules-based order and the processes and structures that have been put in place over the past decades to be able to actually ensure that international law is respected and enforced. And the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is a key part of that. Canada right now is directly engaged in at least 5 different cases at the ICJ because we believe in the importance of that as an institution. But our wholehearted...
But, like, yeah, we believe in the ICJ. We're participating with it, but
our wholehearted support of the IGA and its processes does not mean that we support the premise of the case brought forward by South Africa.
So we support the system, we support the courts, we just don't support this case. Talk about not being biased. How about just wait for the facts? Can you at least do the bare minimum of saying, we're going to wait to see how this unfolds, as opposed to saying we do not support the premise of this? Like, he's just flat out saying that he's denying that there's a genocide happening in Gaza, even though, like, all the information is there. We can see it with our own eyes. The video is there. The testimony is there. The bombs being dropped, the craters we can see from satellites. Like, it's all there. We know what's happening. And by every conceivable way of defining genocide, this is what's happening. You can't objectively deny that at this point. But Justin Trudeau is, yeah, I just did a but Justin Trudeau is part of the establishment neoliberal colonial settler privileged white man culture. So for him, he doesn't want to acknowledge the truth, what's really happening there, because it would say a lot about this country and what this country has participated in, not to mention all the support, because there's always going to be that chance that Canada and the United States are going to be dragged into this if this ends up going to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, because we are supplying weapons we know are being used in this genocide. So it would have been, I think, a lot more professional of him if he just said, we need to wait for the facts, even though they're out, and it's pretty damning.
We will continue to follow closely. The first phase of the ICJ hearings actually just ended hours ago with Israel completing its submission, and I can assure you there will be a ministerial statement in the coming hours laying out in detail Canada's position.
So Canada doesn't support premise of South Africa's case against Israel. Canada fully supports the International Court of Justice, but that doesn't mean it supports the premise of South Africa's genocide case against Israel, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Friday. Let's see. On Thursday, South Africa launched a case on the top United Nations court arguing Israel's bombardment of Gaza and its siege on the Palestinians who live there are genocidal in character. Israel, a Jewish state founded in the aftermath of the Holocaust, has vehemently denied the allegations and took the rare step of engaging with the court to defend its international reputation. Yeah, I suppose this would make you look bad. You know, slaughtering innocent people. That could damage the reputation. Poor things. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, said in a written statement Friday afternoon that there is a high legal threshold for proving claims of genocide. Let's see. That's all kind of recapping what's happened. I don't feel like I need to read the entire article for everyone. It's all pretty much, you know, people pointing out this is genocide, but Canada saying no, it's not. Yeah, it's unfounded, says Secretary of State Anthony Blinken from the United States saying it's meritless. So, of course, Canada would then say that there's no premise for this because we always just follow suit to what the Americans do. Having our own kind of thought on this is really not something Justin is capable of doing. Da, da, da. Polyev said the case brought by South Africa is shamelessly and dishonestly attacking the Jewish people and the Jewish state. Finally, something that Pierre Polyev and Justin Trudeau can agree on. That there is no genocide in Gaza. Yep, they can finally agree on something. They support each other with that. Wonderful. They're just wonderful people. But it's not like some people might think, okay, well, he's a prime minister. Maybe he shouldn't be using such strong language on the public stage. Genocide, it's quite the accusation. So maybe he should just, hold back a little. Only not too long ago, absolutely right to call Russia's actions in Ukraine genocide, Trudeau said. Prime Minister stops short of using the word himself, saying there is an official process. Really?
I think as President Biden highlighted, there are official processes around determinations of genocide, but I think it's absolutely right that more and more people be talking and using the word genocide in terms of what Russia is doing, what Vladimir Putin has done. The use of targeted attacks against civilians.
So he knows how to use the word. And let's see, so the use of targeted attacks against civilians. So yes, refugee camps have been bombed, hospitals have been bombed, all of them full of innocent people. Innocent people have been shot in the streets, starved, died in buildings. So yeah, we got that one covered. We got that point covered.
Against hospitals, against maternity wards, against train stations, against maternity wards, against train stations, targeted attacks against civilians, against hospitals, against maternity wards.
Yep, got that. That happened for sure in Gaza.
It's train stations filled with people fleeing.
Not really train stations, but the paths to where people are fleeing, the refugee camps. Yep, so we got that one. And, there's no real train stations in Gaza, as far as I know, most likely because Israel won't let Gaza build something like that.
Deliberate use of sexual violence against the Ukrainian population.
Let's see, stripping men down to their undies and parading them around in public and making them perform for the camera. That is sexual violence, and I'm pretty sure there's other sorts of sexual violence going on that I haven't heard reports of it. Let's just say I haven't heard reports of it. I'd be shocked if it wasn't happening.
As a way of creating horrific scenes, the way that
they were literally posing the naked men in scenes that they were filming. Like literally, that's what they were doing.
They're attacking, Ukrainian identity and culture. These are all things.
Yeah, there's no longer a Palestinian culture to a lot of the people in the Israel government. They're all Hamas. They don't have their own culture. And their culture is just that of violence and all that sort of stuff. So they all deserve to die because they're all Hamas. So I think by Justin's own definition, what's happening in Gaza would be considered a genocide.
That are war crimes that Putin is responsible for. These are all things that
war crimes, the targeting of journalists, that was a thing. That's a war crime. Collective punishment, that's a war crime. So yeah, got those covered too.
That are crimes against humanity. And that's why Canada was one of the first countries to move forward at the International Criminal Court to hold Vladimir Putin and his cronies responsible for what's going on in the illegal invasion of Ukraine. And we're also dispatching RCMP investigators to make sure that the full truth is known and that Putin be held fully to account.
Yep. Yeah, okay. So Justin isn't against using that rhetoric. He's just against using it for this one for some reason. Ah! Stop! Autoplay on news sites shouldn't be a thing. Yeah, so it's not like he's against it. He's just against it for Palestinians. You can't use that word when it's, Israel wiping out Palestinians. That's different. It's different. It's just Israel protecting itself. And as Tori, the lefty Canadian radical says, Israel has, of course, killed way more people in the span of 2 months than Russia did in the span of 2 years. Not defending Russia, just speaking to the gravity of the situation and the absolute fucking atrocity it is for Justin Trudeau to continue denying genocide in Gaza. Yeah. Yeah, it is really bad. And we have Terrell Tailfeathers, just reminder that Canada under Justin Trudeau is still underfunding First Nation reserves under the Indian Act that are experiencing multiple crises, including murdered and missing Indigenous women, suicides, opioid poisoning deaths, which his government continues to ignore while pushing resource extraction and pipelines. You see, it's hard for Justin Trudeau to call out genocide when it's a settler colonial state doing it, when we are still in that process here. I don't know if you guys know about the grassy narrows. Actually, let me just, I didn't have that Googled for you, so let's just do that. Grassy narrows. Let's see. Just trying to find mercury poisoning. There we go. So, grassy narrows, First Nations, mercury contamination. That's been going on for a while, and of course the government isn't doing anything really about it to, solve the crisis, which is standard if there's toxic land on which Indigenous peoples were moved to. That's just, one example. Yeah, so found that 87 grassy narrow residents were over the safe limit of 100 ppb with 61 samples. Yeah. And this has been going on for over 30 years. This has been an issue. And Terrell also just yeah, I have to come to your teepee to look you in the eye before I use military force to build pipelines across your unceded homelands, which is something that the Trudeau government has done. They actually sent in the military to arrest protesters and journalists because they were putting a oil pipeline across the Wet'suwet'en land and other land. Here's, PM Trudeau, will you compensate us for the mercury crisis? Talking about grassy narrows, of course not. And yeah, part of our history, this is him on the first day of Orange Shirt Day, recognition of the harm caused by residential schools. And for the first one that we actually, the inaugural day of that, he went on vacation instead of, doing something meaningful towards the communities. It is just so sad. So sad. Yeah. This is nothing, like this country is nothing like what they taught me when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I would have believed that Canada would have been the first to like, oh, we definitely need to take Israel to the ICJ for what they're doing and stuff like that. And a lot of people still they grew up on that. They still haven't figured it out, that it's nothing like that. And it's shameful. It is so shameful. Like, I'm ashamed of this government for what it's doing, what it continues to do, what it's denying, all the lies it does. And I just hope that someday my work can have an impact on that, to get them to acknowledge the harm they're causing. It's so frustrating, because you have this vision of what Canada was supposed to be, but then you realize what it actually is. And how kind of, like, it's basically, you can have an identity crisis when that happens. It was gradual enough with me that it didn't happen, but some people might be reluctant to actually accept the truth because they're worried about their identity as a Canadian being tarnished, going away, all that sort of stuff. But I want to live with the truth of the situation, because that's the only way to actually solve the problems in the world, is to acknowledge what the problems are in the first place. And Canada is a huge, huge problem on the world stage, in this country, how it treats people, what it's done, what it's continued to do. It's nothing like the country I thought it was when I was a kid. But we have here a very slow Twitter. Very, very slow Twitter. Okay. So Leah is MP for Winnipeg Centre. So she is a federal member of parliament for a place in Winnipeg. And generally speaking, she has done amazing work. She has put forth some amazing bills as an advocate for, people living with less, people with disabilities, just a wonderful, wonderful person. And so here she's responding to Heather McPherson. Canada was part of the Saudi-led coalition that horrifyingly bombed Yemen for nearly a decade. Now Canada is joining in a new round of airstrikes on the Houthis. Parliamentarians were not consulted at this dangerous moment. The Liberals are making dangerous choices. And I went over this in the last live stream when we were talking about it. For years and years and years, Yemen has been under attack, and Canada has been supporting that attack. We've been supplying money, weapons, assistance in other ways. So a lot of people were afraid when these bombings happened in Yemen from the United States, but it's nothing new, which is sad. It's just at this particular time, everyone is very sensitive to what's going on over there. So it's gotten a lot more attention than it would have before, because there's a famine going on over there, which has killed, thousands upon thousands of people. That's never in the news. And, so many more people are at risk of starving, and just the conditions that they've been living in, it's horrid. And Canada has been involved with it. And so Leah was responding to Heather saying, why is Canada joining the new rounds of airstrikes in Yemen at a time when the majority of Canadians support a ceasefire in Gaza? We must not take actions that threaten to escalate violence against civilians. We must stand for peace. I absolutely agree that we must stand for peace. We have to do something, just not like this. This is literally a day later. She says, this is appalling, full stop. Breaking, Montrealers rally at Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly's home to call for an end to Canada's military and diplomatic support for Israel's genocide. So we must do something, but not this. This is a little much, protesting at their home. Like, it's a little icky to do that, to go to the Foreign Affairs Minister's residence and peacefully protest outside. Like, that's just too far. Yeah, so it went from, we must not take actions that threaten to escalate violence against civilians. We must stand for peace. And here's a whole bunch of people standing for peace. Just don't do it like that. That's a big no-no. This is appalling, full stop, she says. Some of the signs in here: mourn the dead, fight like hell for the living. That's a good sentiment there. Just, yeah. So whatever you do, don't protest the wrong way. And as a Twitter peep of mine said, this is one part of Canadian civility I don't agree with. Protesting the Minister of Foreign Affairs peacefully at their residence is morally right, in my opinion. Civility in the face of genocide is the wrong tactic to take. I believe the NDP should support these protesters. And I'm in agreement with that. You know, as long as they're not threatening her, you know, she chose to be an MP, you know. Her actions in office have consequences. I'm against violence for sure, so no violence. I don't want any of that happening, but to peacefully protest outside her home. When it comes to genocide, I think that is a valid reason to be protesting, you know, to say we want to stop the genocide. That is definitely a very good reason to be protesting. So Tori, I love her. She's amazing. If you're still on the hostile fart sauna, go follow her. Those who say this is unacceptable remind me that the state holds the only legitimate monopoly on violence and that many people don't even see the violence inflicted by the state as violence. Melanie is supporting genocide. Can't get much more violent than that. And here there's even a little bit of the video that's happening. Yeah. So often we have to tolerate the violence inflicted on us by the state, but the instant we stand up for ourselves, it's like, no, you're not allowed to do it. Not like that. You're not allowed to protest like that. And there was recently, I covered it in my last stream, that there was one instance of the cops not being violent, not, you know, forcing, you know, not being aggressive towards protesters. Okay, we're talking about protesters that tend to be on the left side of the scale. On the right side of the scale, they tend to be totally fine with them. But, you know, this was the one rare instance where a cop was this much decent by passing on a coffee to a protester after not allowing more protesters to go join them. And those protesters had coffee, and so the officer was kind enough to just relay it. And this was just so devastating to the police chief that they had to say sorry for doing that. Questions have been raised regarding one particular interaction between officers and a person on Avenue Road Bridge during the hours-long demonstration. Whatever the intent, the impact has been to cause concern and confusion, and for that, I am sorry. We understand the disruption and concern for safety many of these demonstrators have caused, and when laws are broken, we will intervene to ensure safety. Yeah. So, you know, sorry for passing on a coffee. You know, that was a bit much. We understand that. And just to show how regretful they are for this one tiny kind action, you know, they need to make amends for that. You know, they said they're sorry, so they need to make amends. By being violent towards the protesters. Just a little while later. Yeah, there's no more coffee passing happening here. That's just police getting aggressive with peaceful protesters. Yeah, shoving them. Some of them fell down to the ground. Yeah, that's they're making up for passing that coffee. Yeah, putting people face down in the snow. Good call. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As what this was for wearing kiefas while being together on a public sidewalk in our own neighborhood.
Are you okay?
Keep moving, please.
Hey, 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 hey,
Please.
hey.
You're pushing us onto the road!
Are you okay?
You to go on the side.
We have blocked the road, so you can head this way. Head that way. Thank you.
Can we help you up?
Yeah. The demonstrators have said that they weren't on the road blocking it. They were on the sidewalk, and the police literally pushed them onto the road. 3 arrested at Avenue Road Bridge following ban on demonstrations. So now these demonstrations are being banned. These protests, these people protesting genocide. In that location, it's banned. You're not allowed to do that anymore. And that was the same location where that cop just a little while ago handed over coffee that they were terribly sorry about. You can see how sorry they are. Yeah, Toronto police say they have arrested and removed 3 people from the Avenue Road Bridge where demonstrations are prohibited. And there's this here.
Police are banning protests at
Ooh,
a
this is
major
very
intersection in the
quiet.
heart of the city's Jewish community.
Didn't even hear that at all.
He says anybody who tries to assemble here at the Avenue Road Bridge at the 401 should expect
Something is wrong with the audio on this one. It was playing fine before.
Toronto's police chief announcing today police are banning.
Huh. I don't think I'll be able to play this. It's the volume's full there. It's audio and live streaming.
Banning protests at a major intersection in the heart of the
No,
city's
there's
Jewish
definitely
community.
something wrong with the audio.
He says anybody who tries to assemble here
Sorry
at the
about
Avenue
that,
Road
folks.
Bridge at the 401 should expect to be arrested. As you can see, there is already a community
No different. That had a lot of the information in it that I wanted to relay to you.
here to speak out against the ban.
We're not putting up with this kind of hateful conduct in our city.
Yeah, it seems to be feeding into, let me just go to the main shop for a second. Darn it, I hope it's not with a YouTube thing.
Police Chief Myron Dem.
Because the audio on the other stuff has been fine. It's...
A heavy police presence here at the Highway 401 overpass at Avenue.
Huh? I just clicked on another YouTube article, and it's
Road.
same problem.
Officers patrolling the area throughout the day, making sure that protesters do not end up here after banning demonstrations.
Sorry about that. I don't think I'll be able to use these YouTube clips. I don't think I had. I hope working, because I had I wanted to end off with a fun YouTube clip.
Earlier this week, there are a group of pro-Palestinian.
You guys are saying that the audio is good? I cannot hear it. Sorry, I'm just checking this now.
Toronto.
Sounds fine. So you guys can hear it. Okay, that's super weird. Then I can play it. It's just, it's so super quiet for me. Sorry about that. I should have checked the chat sooner. It's not the headphones because the other audios were fine. And on my OBS, when I'm looking at it, there's 2 lines for the audio for any given track, and only half of it is showing up. So for some reason, it's not translating into OBS. Okay. No, the cat did not chew my cord because the other ones were fine. Okay, I'll play it. It's just I can barely hear it.
Toronto's police chief announcing today police are banning protests at a major intersection in the heart of the city's Jewish community. He says anybody who tries to assemble here at the Avenue Road Bridge at the 401 should expect to be arrested. As you can see, there is already a community group here to speak out against the ban.
We're not putting up with this kind of hateful conduct in our city.
Police Chief Myron Demke didn't mince words, saying the Avenue Road protests have intimidated the Jewish community. The announcement comes less than a week after officers faced backlash for handing off coffee and donuts to protesters on the bridge.
What was the tipping point here? Why have you decided to ban these protests now?
This is an overpass over the busiest highway in Canada, indeed North America. As I understand it, it's a piece of critical infrastructure. There are many other places that are safe and appropriate for lawful assembly and expression.
Any activities on the Avenue Road overpass or surrounding areas will now be investigated with a criminal lens.
They're not allowing anybody to come on the bridge.
Video posted by one of the organizers of the overpass protests shows police already enforcing the ban on Wednesday.
We will get to the bottom of this. This does stink of anti-Palestinian racism, of Islamophobia.
We spoke briefly with one of the organizers who tells us they aren't backing down, but members of the Jewish community relieved tonight.
And the notion that people would be targeted with demonstrations simply because of who they are and where they live is just odious and something that shouldn't be stood for.
We are not protesting at this intersection because of its high Jewish population. We are protesting because of its accessibility to us and its visibility.
One community group calling the ban an affront to civil liberties and freedom of expression before police asked them to leave the area.
We unreservedly condemn anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic acts.
The Jewish community continues to bear the brunt of Toronto hate crimes. Chief Demke releasing new numbers today. In 2023, reported hate crimes increased by 42% compared to 2022. There were 132 reported anti-Semitic hate crimes in 2023, up from 65 the year before, and 35 reported anti-Muslim, Palestinian, and Arab hate crimes in 2023 compared to 12 the year before. The latest high-profile incident, a suspected anti-Semitic arson attack at a Jewish-owned deli.
We are going to ensure our communities feel safe in every way we can.
Police say since October 7th, there have been 54 arrests and 117 charges laid in relation to hate crimes. The latest charges being described as unprecedented. A 41-year-old man has been charged after police say he was waving a flag that belongs to a group listed as a terrorist organization by Public Safety Canada. He will appear in court in February.
You know, a lot of the people that will wave flags, like Nazi-related type flags, white nationalist type flags in a lot of these protests, you don't see them going to court. You don't tend to see those people going to court. Yeah. There's nothing, if they're peacefully protesting on the sidewalk, they have the right to do that. You know, they're not outside of private civilians' houses. They're away from them. It's an easy place to accept. It's accessible to them. This is a neighborhood they also live in. So telling Palestinians that they're not allowed to, you know, protest anywhere near Jewish people because it might make them uncomfortable. Yeah, it's, you know, don't protest here, don't protest there. Only protest where we want you to, where you're out of sight and out of mind. Yes, this side is working. That side is not. And I don't know why. Because I didn't touch anything and it just stopped working. It might be that YouTube is not playing in stereo for some reason, that I might have accidentally hit a setting in there. Yes, Betty Doctor, for fuck's sakes, look at chat. I'm looking at chat now. I'm looking. Sorry about that, everyone. I need eyes on the side of my head. Just checking chat. Yeah, so I can hear now. I hate when things change and I didn't do anything to it. Grand Theft Autobot, protest quietly and out of sight, please. Yeah, you need to do it where it's going to bring attention. That's kind of the point. Let's see. But there are some protests that are happening where lots of people are going to. So 400,000 people in D.C. today, the largest Palestinian protest in the history of the United States. This despite the cold weather, the flight and the metro cancellations, the supposed fatigue after 100 days of protest. The movement for Palestine will not go away until Palestine is free. And that is a very heartening picture to see. And there's some footage. Hundreds of thousands march on the White House in solidarity with Palestine. Now, you might think that something like this would be plastered all over mainstream media. Like, it's a pretty big, protest going on there. Like, look at all these people. It should bring some media attention. Let's go to CNN. Because this just happened yesterday, that protest. And let's see. Okay, no, not seeing it on. Maybe let's try MSNBC. Let's see. Oh, Pillow Guy is in the news. Latest. Eerie news. It's all Trump-centric from the looks of it. Let's see. Yeah, Not seeing anything. What's another? Give me another mainstream media. If I go to, this is a Canadian one. Breaking news. Let's see. And I'm not seeing. Ooh, that looks pretty. A volcano erupts in southwestern Iceland, sending lava flowing towards nearby settlement. It's a natural disaster thing I'll probably look into. 2 dead from shovel snowing related cardiac arrest in Revenue County. That sounds right. Let's see. Anyone else? BBC? Let's check BBC. Still, a lot of Trump news. So a protest of about 400,000, and we're not seeing it. Let's see if we just type in up here. Go back here. Let's just yeah, so I just protest Washington, D.C. So tens of thousands. Oh, tens of thousands a day ago. Not hundreds of thousands, just tens of thousands. Okay, so we got tens of thousands. I just typed in protest Washington, D.C. Let's see. okay. The Washington Post, March for Gaza at DC rally. Thousands. That's thousands. Thousands. That's just thousands there. Yeah, this is just thousands. It's not hundreds of thousands. It's just not even tens of thousands. Yeah, thousands. More thousands. But I'm not even seeing well, we've got the Washington Post, but where are all the other major news outlets covering these thousands of people marching? Scroll down. Let's see if I scroll down further than anyone would bother to. No. Nothing saying that it's the largest pro-Palestinian protest. Well, Al Jazeera, pro-Palestinian protests held around the world as war goes on. No, a whole lot of news places just saying thousands. And if we go down any further, we start getting into stories from years and years and years ago. Yeah. Funny how that looks like that, you know, just the whole bias in the media. I guess they have a hard time counting. You know. Oh, there was one article, I'm just looking down at the Google site now, saying tens of thousands expected in DC for pro-rally, pro-Israel. Oh, pro-Israel rally. You just saw that. From November 14th, tens of thousands expected in DC for pro-Israel rally. Yeah, that one they can count higher on, but oh, let's see. Somebody wants to. We'll do this experiment a little bit further because somebody put in the chat ABC News. Scan. Nope, not seeing anything. Not seeing. Holy Trump. Is that all you guys talk about down there? Nope, that's some updates, but nothing about the rally. Trump. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything about it in mainstream media. Okay, I think after this one, we kind of get the point across. That we have happening now, hundreds of thousands marching on the White House in solidarity with Palestine. Hundreds of thousands. It's hundreds of thousands. 400,000 people in DC today, the largest Palestine protest in the history of the United States. And not a single mainstream media outlet is covering it. I think except for the Washington Post. Not exactly the same. Let's check the sandbox. I have one more piece of stuff related to Gaza to go over before we switch over to more Canadian-centric. All of this is Canadian-centric, really. Except for the last one. Although I do know that there were Canadians there. They were posting on Twitter. I can keep this one in when I listen to audio because this one was full audio. This one is just a whisper coming out. When I do the next one. My dogs are goth. Put us in front of you. Well, it's a little bit tricky because when I read news articles and stuff like that, I want to be more head on, and I tend to do a lot of that. It's there's only so much screen space. If I had like a third monitor, maybe I could handle that, but yeah. Grand Theft Autobot, I'm guessing that MSN is showing nada, zip, zilch, nothing, bupkis. Yep, as we just showed, that is exactly the case. They're not doing anything. Showing this historic protest going on. Somebody being mean in the comments, apparently. Thank you to the mods for keeping it a safe place. Yeah, MIDI Doctor's smaller pro-Israel demo got equal coverage, yeah. And they were saying tens of thousands for that one. And if I remember correctly from the videos of that one, tens of thousands is a bit of a stretch. Use a phone to monitor chat? Maybe I can try that. Yeah, it's the way that I have things set up is on the main screen. Here is where I keep all the news and the videos that I'm sharing with you. And then I do a screen capture in my OBS. And so if I were to move anything over here, like my OBS, no, you didn't see it. Probably because I didn't put it down long enough. Stop it. Oh, right. If I go here, so if I go to this, and then I bring this over here, you see, there's a bit of a problem. So I have to keep this screen, which is my desktop, clear for just what I'm sharing with you guys. And then over on the side monitor that I have here is the OBS that I have to have in the most visible view because I keep on changing through scenes. As you guys see, like, do this and this. And when I go to, you know, play the intro and stuff like that, that's all in OBS if I'm adding graphics and things of that sort. So that needs to be kind of primary, easy for me to see. And then I have the YouTube chat, but it's off to the side and I actually have to like really turn my head in order to see it. And then as I'm getting into these articles, my ADHD kind of takes hold and I start hyper-focusing on what I'm talking about and totally forget to look in the chat. Even if I've just said, hey, chat, let me know about this. And then I start talking about the article. I'm so focused on that, I completely forgot that I had just asked you guys something. You know, it's actually kind of astonishing I'm able to do any of this. Oh, somebody, you want me to play the link that you're sending me? Oh, I see. Let's, that's a different one. Rallies across Yemen denouncing U.S. bombing. Millions rallied across Yemen. I don't like the idea of them calling for a major world war. Yeah. Oops. It's quite the thing, but make it a major world war, that I'm a little bit nervous about. Let's just say there's a lot of support for the people in Gaza. I wish there was a way of letting them know that we are fighting for them. So bad, Lefty. This is the day after the UK and US attacked Yemen. Yeah. Grand Theft Autobot. Is Sandy starting to get haters? Awesome. You've made it on their radar. Cool. Not bad for, you know, having 20 odd viewers at any given time. Okay, just checking chat. See, I'm doing my due diligence and I'm checking chat before I move on to the next thing. But thank you, mods, for making sure that this looks, that the sandbox stays clean of dirt. Sure. Clean of trash. Let's put it that way. No trash in the sandbox. Sheldon Petrie. Attention deficit. Ooh, shiny. Yeah, I get a lot of that. Really do. Okay, so let's get to the other part of this I was going to cover. Now that I have this side of the headphones in, I can actually hear the YouTube video I'm about to share with you guys. And I wanted to skip, we don't have to watch that part, the beginning part. We can skip to here. So this anchor is talking to Housing and Immigration Minister. Oh, her name is Rosemary Barton. Hopefully this doesn't give me a content strike. Canadian news is very particular like that, even though I would say this is fair use, but.
Minister Miller, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, Rosemary.
I want to start with the program you launched this week to help Palestinian Canadians get some of their direct family members out of Gaza.
Oh, isn't that nice of us? We're going to be helping Palestinians get some of their family members out of Gaza. That's the Canada I know. We'll see where this is going.
One of the things that's being asked, I think, of those people, those applicants, really particular questions, because in part the Canadian government can't do biometrics tests. Things like employment history since they were 16 years old.
Employment history since they were 16 years old in Gaza? Okay.
Details on scars and injuries, really a high level of detail in terms of the applications. Why is that needed?
Detail on scars and injuries. That could be sensitive for reasons that
Well, I'd say first a couple of things. There is a real concern around the security situation in Gaza. We are not.
Well, it's just you know, I want to say it's just, you know, it's
talking about Canadians or permanent residents, but really family members of permanent residents. So we don't know who we're dealing with. We can't.
Yeah, we're dealing with the family members of permanent residences and citizens. That's who we're dealing with. So the people who have already been granted citizenship here, they're family members. That's who we're talking about. They're, you know, it's that we know who we're talking about then.
Functionally go into Gaza and do the biometrics on site. And so we need as much information as we can to go to the next step, which is to work with the authorities on the ground, Israel, Egypt, and a terrorist organization in Hamas, to secure the passage through Rafah Gate, so then we can proceed and do the
Yeah, we just have to work with terrorist organizations to see which one of the people can come through the border.
actual biometrics in Cairo. So we do need a lot of information to get a sense of who those people are and to verify that they can very well be sponsored so that we can proceed to the next step. This isn't dissimilar to what we...
Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm sorry, are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? Are you looking right here? Ottawa caps program allowing Palestinians to flee to Canada at 1,000 applications. 1,000 applications for Palestinians who have relatives here to flee the horror that they're in. We're granting 1,000 applicants.
We did and the operational difficulties that we had in Afghanistan. But obviously, I do understand on a humanitarian basis how onerous this can seem for someone who's just hanging out at Rafah Gates.
Yeah, just hanging out at Rafah Gates. That's, they're just waiting there so that they can get clearance to go across the border. They're just, biding their time, waiting to cross into Egypt so that, they can maybe start the immigration process. Just hanging out there. That's what they're doing.
Waiting with very little hope to get out. So, these are people that, as Canadians, we need.
Yeah, they're saying just hanging out there, but there's really not hope for them to get out. They're all just trapped in there while they're being bombed and terrorized and starved.
To get out, they are close family members of Canadians or permanent residents who are just desperate to see them alive. So we have to do everything we can. But there is an issue in not compromising security.
Wait a sec, did you just hear that butt? I heard a butt. Him and Justin Trudeau and their butts. That didn't come out the way I was thinking it would.
Are permanent residents who are just desperate to see them alive. So we have to do everything we can. But there is an issue in not compromising security.
Yeah. So we have to do everything we can, but we don't want to let the terrorists in. The children that have new scars and injuries. You gotta make sure that they have a clean record before we allow them into our country.
But there is an issue in not compromising security at the same time.
And I imagine lots of issues around how much you can actually do. So I know that there's, your target is sort of 1,000 people, although you've said that you're flexible on that cap. And I wonder how many applications you've already received this week and whether you...
Flexible on that cap of 1,000 people. Flexible on that.
You have any hope or optimism that you'll actually get the people to Canada?
Well, I have a lot of hope. I don't have solid guarantees given, the scenario that everyone knows and I just described to you. We do have a number, that said, of people that have had fully put together cases submit their forms, so they are at a more advanced stage than others. A lot of...
With only one border crossing that isn't even accessible to the vast majority of people in Gaza. And considering that over 1 million people had to be moved within the Gaza Strip, the infrastructure, any sort of government they had now collapsed. No hospitals, no supports. How the fuck are they supposed to apply? It would make a lot more sense if, maybe there was a ceasefire and then we could start getting the supports in there that they need in order to come over here. And they could start getting, food and other things so that maybe they wouldn't have to flee. That would be nice if they weren't being forced to flee. If only Canada could do something about that to make the conditions there better, to help them where they are. But no, aren't we so kind? It's 1,000 people, but we'll be flexible on that cap. We might raise it depending on demand. It could increase. But how are they supposed to apply?
Interest, but it's a question of really dotting the I's, crossing the T's, getting the paperwork done, getting the relationship with government officials going so that we can really advocate for their passage through Rafah. And again, the big uncertainty for us is really getting them through that checkpoint, that the window to which has been very tenuous in opening and closing, with no particular rhyme or reason at times when we were trying to get our own citizens or permanent residents out. So I hate giving people false hope. We need to have hope in this situation because there are people dying. It's a war zone. But again, we need to make sure who we're getting when we get out. And again, on the cap, prepared to be flexible when we see the volumes come in.
Yeah, and then they start talking about, how Canada is letting in so many immigrants, it's causing a housing crisis. That's not the reason. There's multiple reasons, but, it would maybe make sense if Canada reduced the amount of immigrants coming in until there's sure housing available for them, available housing of all sorts, because just allowing more and more people to come in with a shrinking market of housing does not help the situation. But then they start talking about other things, and I think it was right around here. I wanted to skip back into this.
Those volumes could make a recession, tailing back some of that temporary.
So now they're talking about, so Canada had increased the temporary visas, immigrants, things of that sort, like foreign workers, students, all that sort of stuff. And that maybe we should cut back on that because that's also, a demand on the housing. But there's a but.
Challenge with the non-permanent resident targets is there are none. We have to take a look at that and rein it in many areas. But we need to be clear about what that means exactly.
But, yeah. So maybe we need to focus on that, but
perhaps changing the targets that you have in place to temper the pace of non-permanent residents?
Yeah, and I think the challenge with the non-permanent resident targets is there are none. We have to take a look at that and rein it in many areas. But we need to be clear about what that means exactly. There's a Desjardins report that you've no doubt seen that says tailing back some of that temporary foreign worker. Those volumes could make a recession even worse. So we have to be clear about what we're talking about. Some of that those temporary people are Ukrainians fleeing Russian aggression, and so we wouldn't want to send them back. We need to do this in a humane, humanitarian way.
Sorry.
Well,
we want to send them back. We need to do this in a humane, humanitarian way.
Well,
a humane and humanitarian way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The people that are fleeing the war in Russia and Ukraine, we can't send those people back to that situation. That would just be wrong. But again, if they're fleeing from Gaza, it's just going to be temporary. We want them back. And if you think you're mad, this is going to get a little bit worse. It's just bear with me. So Ottawa plans multi-stage vetting process for visa applicants from Gaza amid security fears. Let's make this bigger. No, other way. This way. Oh, way too big. There we go. The government says it has developed a multi-stage security screening for Palestinians from Gaza applying to a temporary visa program, but a group of immigration lawyers is raising concerns about security risks for people coming from the Hamas-controlled territory. Applications for the 3-year visa will be screened while applicants are still on the ground in Gaza, Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada said. If no inadmissibility concerns are flagged, at that point, then the applicant will be eligible for the next stage, full biometric security and admissibility screening, which will take place in a third country if the applicant is able. It's able to exit Gaza. They kind of brushed past it in that video, but there are Canadian citizens in Gaza who can't get out. Only applicants who pass full biometric security and admissibility screenings will be allowed to travel onward to Canada, said the department spokesperson, Matthew. He said the screening process will involve the Immigration Department as well as the Canada Border Service Agency and the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. CSIS. Only Government of Canada officials make decisions regarding admissibility to Canada and will decide whether or not a temporary resident visa will be issued. Other governments are not involved with this program, the department said. So keep in mind, this is just for a 3-year pass. And then after that, they're expected to go back. To what? It is literally rubble in large parts of Gaza right now. It's rubble. There's nothing to go back to. However, a recently formed group called Lawyers for Secure Immigration wrote the government this week, warning that Hamas's control of Gaza and the limited state capacity there pose security risks to Canada. Polls show significant support from Palestinians in Gaza for Hamas and its October terrorist attack against Israelis. I'd like to see that poll, see the nuance, language used. Also, they're living in an open-air prison, and there's one group of people in there willing to push back. You're probably going to support them if there's going to be a single group of people in there that are willing to fight back. We are advocating for cautious and thorough screening by our Canadian security specialists before an applicant can board the plane to Canada, the group wrote in a submission to the government. This special immigration program was announced in December in response to the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. I wouldn't really say it's a war. It's pretty one-sided. The federal government said it would allow Gazans with family, just, only ones with family already here. So, they've already had members of their family pass through all the screening to get here. Those are the good ones. To apply for temporary visas that would let them stay here for 3 years. It would also allow successful applicants to apply for work or study permits at no cost. Applicants would have to show they would be supported financially by someone in Canada for at least a year. So, they have to get out of Gaza, but then they also have to have, finances. They have to have a sponsor, which is normal, actually, here for Canada, but one might argue they're refugees, and that's a different process because, they're fleeing for their lives. The government originally said the program would be designed to allow 1,000 Palestinians from Gaza, but Immigration Minister Mark Miller has since said there would be no hard cap on the number of people allowed to use the program. In announcing the program, Miller said it was important to offer some people a path out of the war. How about just stopping it? Stopping the war. Let's do that. Let's just stop it. Stop the bombing. Just stop it. These new measures provide a humanitarian pathway to safety and recognize the importance of keeping families together given the ongoing crisis. We will continue to monitor the situation in Gaza very closely as it evolves and adapts and responds accordingly, he said. There remains questions how many Palestinians will even have access to the program due to the difficulties in leaving Gaza. Since the war broke out in October, only a small number of people have been able to leave Gaza through the Rafah border into Egypt. All border crossings into Israel have been blocked, and Egypt is very careful about allowing Palestinians into its country. It took weeks for Canada and other Western countries to evacuate their own citizens out of the territory after the war began. Movement out of Gaza remains extremely challenging and may not be possible as countries and other actors set their own entry and exit requirements. People wishing to exit Gaza are required to provide specific information required to the government of Israel and Egypt for every traveler in advance. Okay, let's just... Oh, I guess I am almost done the article. I might as well finish it. I thought this article, because I see the sidebar here, and the sidebar shows a lot more distance than what is actually there, so I can actually finish this article. The government said it could share information about applicants with Israel and Egypt in order to facilitate their exit, with the consent of the people involved. The government set up a similar program for people fleeing the war in Ukraine, and nearly 1 million people were approved to come to well, 1 million people were approved from Ukraine to come to Canada. However, just over 200,000 actually made the trip. The government did not set a cap on that program. A million? 1,000. 1 million with no cap. 1,000 with a cap we might be flexible on. I get it, you know. The population in Ukraine is larger, but I don't think it's what would that be, 1,000 times larger? I can't math right now. That seems proportionate. Liberal MP Salma released an open letter to Miller and said Canada should be offering the same deal to Palestinians in Gaza as it did to Ukrainians. Yeah, it should. That sounds right. It is strongly felt that the immigration measures and support for Ukrainians and their families should be used as a model here, specifically relating to measures around application fees, support on arrival, and a dedicated program assistance, she wrote. The Australian government did their own thing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's a little bit more on the Ukrainian situation. So Canada's emergency visa application for Ukrainians fleeing the war to end Saturday. So this is a newer program. Let's see. So more than 1.1 million people have applied, and more than 800,000 visas have been approved as of July 1st. Through the only 21% of the visa holders have actually come to Canada. And they're a bit worried because the war isn't over there and they don't want to be sent back. Here we go. As of October 14th, more than 198,600 Ukrainians have come to Canada on a 3-year emergency visa that allowed unlimited number of people to flee the Russian invasion. An unlimited number of people. It is a one-of-a-kind program that allows many Ukrainians to come to Canada quickly, but doesn't offer the same long-term prospects and support of a refugee program or a permanent immigration stream. Yeah. Oh, Canada. Let's check the sandbox. I have a bunch more stuff to go over that's not related to that. So that's the end of the Gaza coverage for today. Just kind of really shows Canada for the country we really are, which is racist as fuck. Let's see. Emergency remedial truth. You guys are funny, getting distracted by shiny things. Ooh, squirrel. Yeah. I got 2 trolls today? Wow. Grand Theft Autobot, I'm thinking there's more than 1,000 Palestinians despite the IDF's efforts. Well, according to the IDF, they're all Hamas, not really Palestinian in that situation. So can you let any of them over in that situation? My dogs are goth. Guess what I'm talking about next? Because you're just saying on my alert today, got one last night, said use microwave to heat food, don't use major appliances, and not to use space heater last night down to -40. Just trying to know a comment that is Dino Rancher just hopped in. Glad to see you all. Glad to see you. Mindy Doctors, I heard that Canada is looking to triple? I think you mean triple its population. I haven't heard anything about what they want the population to be. We're sitting at about 40 million right now. And we need more infill housing. So all the houses that are currently empty, which is about 6 to every 1 unhoused person, need to be filled with people. And then there has to be more infill building with the cities that we already have before we start branching out and building more mansions, which a lot of the provincial conservative governments like to do when they talk about developers. The housing that a lot of them build are not affordable housing. Okay. Let's get back to it, and we're going strictly Canadian now, so we get this.
Today in Canadian news.
Alberta sucks. I'm sorry if you live there. It's a horrible place to be right now. That is the breaking news. Let's see. So on Twitter, apparently our grid is on the brink of failure or rolling blackouts. What is happening? And there was an emergency alert that went out to Albertans yesterday, to the people who had power. And very similar vibe as to what happened to Texas not too long ago, where they had actual power outages due to winter weather. Well, now it's happening in Alberta, which really, you know, if Alberta's trying to shake that label of being Canada's Texas, they're doing a very poor job of it. So this was the alert that was on people's phone. This is an Alberta emergency alert issued by the AEMA. This alert is in effect for Alberta. Extreme cold resulting in high power demands has placed the Albertan grid at high risk of rotating power outages this evening. Albertans are asked to immediately limit their electricity use to essential needs only. Turn off unnecessary lights and electrical appliances. Minimize the use of official government alert. And they don't have a space where they need to have one. the use is 2 words of space heaters, delay use of major power appliances, delay charging electrical vehicles, like Alberta allows electrical vehicles, and plugging into block heaters, cook with microwave instead of a stove. For more info, visit Alberta Electrical System Operator website. Yay, Alberta. Yep, unless things change immediately, we're going to have rolling blackouts. That's why they sent out the emergency alert. And let me just check my phone here, because I forgot. I was really meaning to do this before the stream. Conversion. So they're getting down to like, what is it, -40 in some areas. Celsius to Fahrenheit. Let's see. So -40 is... Oh, that's the magic number. Okay. Before I mentioned that there's a magic number where Fahrenheit and Celsius actually equal each other, and apparently it's -40, so I don't have to do that conversion now that I spent all that time doing it. Because when we get into the upper temperatures and stuff like that, it's way different. But then they start getting closer and closer and closer, and then -40, it's the same for Fahrenheit as it is Celsius. So it's cold. And this is what Danielle Smith tweeted out. She is the premier of Alberta. She's the conservative leader that runs the province. Minister of Affordability and Utilities Nathan issued a following statement in response to an electrical grid alert from the Alberta electrical system. We are calling on all Albertans to reduce their electrical demand immediately to essentials only. On top of high demand of our own energy generation, Alberta's grids received electricity from neighboring provinces. Extreme weather in Saskatchewan and British Columbia is impacting electricity sharing, which is also, sharing, almost like they're communists, which is also contributing to factors tonight's grid alert. The Alberta Electrical System Operator has activated the Emergency Grid Management Plan to work with local distribution utilities to avoid potential rolling brownouts. Here are some easy ways to conserve electricity this evening and into the night. Turn off unnecessary lights and electrical appliances. Minimize the use of space heaters. Let's see, are there any that, don't clean clothes or dishes. Don't use block heaters. For the Americans who don't know, block heaters are something that are near driveways so that you can plug them into your car and the engine and stuff so that you can start your car. It keeps the engine a little bit warm so you can start your car. Because it can get cold enough in parts of Canada where your engine will not start. So a block heater is used to get it so you can start your car. Cook with your microwave, crock pot, or toaster oven instead of an electric stove or oven. Oh, where are all those gas stoves? Work on a laptop instead of a desktop computer. Oh, they would hate my setup right now. Unplug electrical appliances when not in use. They continue to drain energy even if they're off. Close your curtains, shade blinds to cover drafty windows. Okay, oh, good to know. Good to know. Good. Province-wide emergency power conservation of blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Yet, how many of those office buildings are completely empty right now? I checked the time down here. So that's in the 24-hour clock. So that's around the same time as the alert went out. It's around 6:55. Around the same time the alert went out. So, maybe it just went out so they didn't know any better. But, oh, somebody is asking for an updated pic. And here you can see, here's one an hour later. Gee, I wonder how we could maybe stop some of that electrical power going out. Maybe turn off all the lights in the office buildings. Also very deadly for birds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, an emergency alert was just issued for Alberta. Please limit your electrical use if you can. How about turning off the lights in all those empty office buildings? That would be a good start. Mm-hmm. And then there are morons like this guy. The government doesn't get to dictate to me how many lights I have on and how I cook and how to cook my food. We will not comply. I actually could not tell if this guy was being sarcastic. Like if he was trying to be satirical. You know, the government doesn't get to dictate to me on how many lights I have on and how to cook my food. We will not comply. Okay, it is like -40 there. People will literally die if the power goes out. Like, if you do not have proper heating, you will die. And he's worried that they're dictating to him to not have lights on that you're not using and to maybe use a microwave to help, you know, save lives. So this is the same guy. Emergency alert. We've had cold weather in the past. What's changed? The power grid can't handle a few cold days in a row? This is Alberta. This is winter. If you're awake to what's happening this last 4 years, you know there's more to this than cold weather. And still, I have no idea if he's being sarcastic, because normally the type of person that would complain about being told which lights to use, and it's not even, they're just recommending it. They're not dictating it. They're just saying, could you please do this to help save lives? Normally those people are conservatives, but here he is saying the last 4 years there's something going on, and it's like, okay, well, it's been like majority conservative run province, so are you bitching about the conservatives? The government is pushing for the elimination of gas vehicles, and they already don't have enough power. This announcement is to condition you for more government control. Okay, like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Oh, he's a pastor and a preacher. Follower of Jesus, is he, huh? Just following the Lord's teaching there. Yeah. That checks, actually. That checks out. That checks out. That right-wing Christian would be upset that there's an emergency alert asking, yeah, Albertans are asked to immediately limit their electrical use. They're not being told to. It's Canada. They're being politely asked to. And Danielle Smith is going to kill some folks. Yeah. Risk of rolling brownouts during cold snap sure sounds like a threat from the province's electrical cartel. Get with the times. Update you infrastructure, you cowards. A couple of the natural gas generators in the province are offline due to both planned and unplanned outages. And then we just happen to get a cold snap in winter in Alberta. I think the number of people would be interested in these planned and unplanned outages in January in Alberta. Yeah, you might have the planned ones maybe don't do in January in Alberta. So Alberta's electrical grid recovers after extreme cold prompts threats of rolling power outages. My dogs are goth are just saying probably hasn't solved the problem because it's still cold. And it's not like they've suddenly fixed all their electrical problems there. So I don't think they're safe yet. Yeah, high power demand caused by the extreme cold is putting pressure on the grid, said the emergency alert. Residents were asked to immediately limit. And this is all, you know, just the let's see. It's just very ironic that the conservative government, this is happening under them. Like, who would have thought that the way that the conservatives run their provinces, they would run into such problems with, you know, things that should be publicly run. But as the breakdown, awesome Twitter, go to the breakdown AB if you're in Alberta and you want to keep up with Albertan politics. They're on top of it. So there were areas in Alberta that had their power cut. And in true fashion, looks like the decision was made to punch down. Oh, what's that? At First Nations. Uh-huh. They had their power cut, did they? I wonder why they picked them to cut the power to. Not, it's hard for me to put my finger on it. I wonder why. Reminds me of when there were those wildfires in BC. And oddly enough, it was the First Nations ones that got the least amount of warning and support and help to get people out. It's funny how that happens all the time. So extreme cold weather. Update, due to the extreme cold weather, ATCO Gas has notified that the regulators are down, leaving some homes in the area without power. In the area is currently making the necessary preparations to assist nation members at this time, including preparing the Deerfoot Sportsplex as a place residents can go to stay warm while this is being addressed. Shuttles for transportation are also being scheduled to assist those members who need transportation, working with all essential services to coordinate additional supports as needed. If you have the means, please check on your neighbors and vulnerable population in your area. Yeah, no clue why they're the ones that went without power. Yeah, and here's Saskatchewan coming to the rescue. Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan, also responsible for killing someone in a driving accident that he's never, suffered any real consequence for. Sax Power is providing 153 megawatt of electricity to Alberta this evening to assist them through this shortage. That power will be coming from the natural gas and coal-fire plants, the ones the Trudeau government is telling us to shut down, which we won't. You mean just like Alberta? Like Alberta does that? You want to be just like Alberta? You want it? Saskatchewan has the second highest energy prices in Canada, followed by Alberta. Am I reading that right? And by Premier Moe donating to Alberta, does that not say they have energy to spare and yet charge the second highest in Canada? Interesting. Yeah, it is. It is. It's interesting how communist suddenly they get with sharing all this extra electrical power they have in time of crisis for their fellow cons. But, First Nations, do they need power? Yeah, conservatives are amazing, says Budrino. They have almost always been in control of Alberta, but somehow this is someone else's fault. Real Republican energy here. Daniel Smith is a Marxist? Yeah, Albertans have a choice to make. We have the third largest oil and gas reserves in the entire world. Do we choose to follow dangerous Marxists who want to take us all back to the Dark Ages, or do we choose freedom, prosperity, and the advancement of humanity? It is tweeting the alert. It is their conservative policies that led to this. But he's blaming other people. It was other people's fault. This is a provincially run thing. This is a provincial thing. And Alberta has almost always been conservative, except for the brief time that the NDP were in power, but they didn't have enough time to really do anything about it, and they were always being fought and blocked by the conservatives. So this is the conservatives doing it to themselves. And the breakdown again, this seems particularly timely. So back in August 29th of 2023, The UCP claimed the NDP was fear-mongering about blackouts and price spikes when they canceled the AESO recommended transition to a capacity market in 2019. The UCP also admitted there would be price spikes, but said it was a desirable feature. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mr. Speaker, Alberta's energy-only market works. It has provided reliable and affordable electricity to Albertans and has attracted investment for more than 20 years.
Sounds reliable right now. I don't think anybody in Alberta has anything to be nervous about.
I know the opposition wants Albertans to think otherwise with their fear-mongering about blackouts and price spikes. But the truth is that Alberta's energy-only market has successfully delivered favorable outcomes for Albertans.
Is this a favorable outcome right now? Is this favorable for everyone?
Currently, our electricity grid has a reserve margin of over 25%. That's 10 percentage points higher than the target reserve margin recommended by the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. While it is true that price spikes are associated with an energy-only market, they are a necessary and desirable feature.
Yeah, I love price spikes. They are so amazing. And I desire price spikes in something that I need to live, to actually live. Price spikes, sure.
As they aid in generator cost recovery, and they actually incent new investment, helping to ensure long-term adequacy of supply.
Uh-huh. And that was quote tweeting, Albertans must be able to turn on their lights, furnaces, and ACs when they need it. They also need to be able to afford electricity they use. To do this, we need more natural gas generation brought online ASAP while we develop and implement nuclear, hydrogen, geothermal, and other emergency technologies that can provide the base load power we need by 2050. I think you need it sooner than that. Yeah, but Ottawa's 2035 net zero regs will make it impossible to achieve. And that is why our UCP government won't let this terrible federal plan implement here. You know, these brutal cold snaps that we're getting, that's a part of the climate change that, we're trying to fight here. Yeah, and the irony of Danielle Smith running a massive fucking campaign last fall in Ontario trying to scare us about freezing in the dark is not lost on me right now. You can't make it up. Stay safe and warm, Alberta, and vote better next time, says David Brown. But what does he mean by this? Danielle Smith, because they were saying that the NDP were fear-mongering. Oh, what's this? Let's click to this article first. It came first. Let's click here. With Ottawa's green power rules, Danielle Smith tone turns dark. No one wants blackouts and negative 30 degrees. No one wants to freeze in the dark. And this is from September 28th of 2023. This was a campaign she did. See that? Nobody wants to. No, I agree with her. Nobody wants to freeze in the dark. But it's the NDP who's fear-mongering about brownouts and blackouts. It's not her. It's the NDP. You see here? They even had this. This was driving around Ottawa. Yeah, Smith cast it all literally in darker terms with flash forward to deeply cold, windless nights where there's no juice to heat entire swaths of Edmonton and Calgary. The sign could as well say, "Don't let the eastern bastards make us freeze in the dark." The pitch and alarmed Advertising appears not only on place cards at Smith's news conference, but will also go on billboards around Canada, wrapped advertising on commuter trains, and even on a truck that rolled through downtown Ottawa on Thursday. Yes, it's a diesel-burning vehicle that Alberta government hired to meander up and down roads to send a message about climate change policy. And what was that other article that this one was from? Oh, right. They spent $8 million on that. They spent, on that campaign to fearmonger about the Liberals and NDPs, going to give us blackouts. They spent $8 million on that to try to convince other provinces that their way is the way to go. I think they're doing a very good job of convincing provinces not to go that way right now. Oh, I already had that one. And it's not just the fact that Alberta is facing these potential blackouts right now. It's that there's very vulnerable people that live in Alberta that are suffering in this cold, that don't have housing. So there were encampments that I showed on stream last time that were being torn down by the police and people being thrown out of any mild protection they had to go into the shelters they swore people had access to. One of these is not like the others. I want to be very clear about this. The UCP are lying. What are they lying about? This is a bit difficult to understand because it's two audios playing over each other, but you'll be able to hear what he's saying. So let's
have more than enough emergency shelter space. We have, I want to be very clear about this, we have more than enough emergency shelter space in the city of Edmonton as well as in the city of Calgary. This is dangerous for anybody to imply that there is not an adequate space for somebody to be warm on a day when it is minus 40. If it causes one person not to go in to get help because they think that there is no adequate space to get help and that person loses their life, that is completely and utterly unacceptable. Anybody who needs to get warm, who needs a place to stay right now in the streets in our largest cities, should go immediately to a shelter and they will be kept care of. When I say that capacity is available, that capacity is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, so I'll read what these are so that you guys can have a better idea of what this is all about. The facts are clear. So stated by Minister Jason Nixon, there is enough shelter space, including emergency shelter space right now in Edmonton. And then Songstress 28 Brandy, she is the reporter that was arrested by the police for covering the encampment being torn down. Taken last night at the Bissell Center in Edmonton, they were over capacity and the people standing outside. It was nearly negative 40. Told a person's name I can't pronounce out there crying. So somebody was saying this, crying. They started a fire to keep warm. Danielle Smith, Jason Nixon, there is not enough emergency shelter space, unlike you're claiming. Those who encampments were torn down Wednesday were in this lineup. Video by Judith Gale of Bear Claw Patrol. Unhoused people in a province that's going negative 40 without adequate shelter space, but you have the minister there saying unequivocally there is enough for everyone. But we see the crowds of people trying to get somewhere to stay warm. It is deadly temperatures out right now. And I don't think they're safe yet because these cold snaps aren't going away. The power, like, they don't suddenly have new power plants online. Like, this is still a problem. And just like Ontario, Alberta has been dismantling their health care, which then forced people to do this. Hundreds of people line up in frigid cold in Grand Prairie this morning, hoping to get a family doctor because one doctor said they were accepting new patients. This woman went but didn't get in. Get in there in time. This is healthcare in Alberta. So a -40 temperature, hundreds of people were lining up to get a doctor. This is the state of healthcare in Alberta. The video shows my minivan adventure this morning. It's a little choppy and I was taking it okay. There are no family doctors accepting patients in the Grand Prairie area. I've been trying to find one for over a year. The closest is 2.5 hours away, and the best chance is Edmonton. So a clinic in the area opens up in some spots and posted that they would be accepting 140 new patients starting 9 a.m. Friday morning. Friday morning in Grand Prairie, the temperature was -43 with a -51 with the wind chill. There was a heavy fog over Grand Prairie, making the drive out a little sketchy. I showed up at about 8:30 to hundreds of people and cars. I found out that the clinic gave out numbers, thankfully, so people could wait in their car. The numbers were gone before 8. Rumor is people were lined up at 5 a.m. in the freezing cold. Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible situation in Alberta right now. And it's always like people tend to forget it's the people with less who suffer the most. The people living with poverty, the people living with disabilities. When it comes to disasters like this, they're the ones that are harmed the most because they aren't the ones that can have the luxury of, turning down the heaters or something because they might only have a little heater to begin with. They're in poorly constructed buildings. They're the ones that are unhoused. They're the ones that, have to find any warm spot to literally survive the night. Like -40 temperature, you without warmth, you die. Like you die. And it's so, I'm still amazed at how much the Conservatives get into power. Because they're literally accusing everyone else of doing exactly what they're doing. And people are suffering and they keep suffering, and yet they still think the Conservatives have their best interests in mind? They don't. They really, really don't. Let's check the sandbox. Da, da, da. Dino Rancher, the only thing that is nifty about Alberta is the fossil beds. RIP, my dinosaur cousins. Yes, I've been there. Was it the Tyrrell Museum? I went on a road trip when I was 17 and drove out to Alberta. And I also really love dinosaurs, so I was super thrilled to go to the Dinosaur Museum in Alberta. But yeah, I hope everyone can find safety in Alberta right now, because I don't think it's going to get better soon, like only in small increments, and then it's going to also go down and up and down and up and and that's the thing with all of these extreme weather that we're getting, because even in the summer, they ran into that problem in BC when they had the heat dome. people were dying because they couldn't get the proper shelter because it was so hot. So, you know, we're in a country where we get both so cold and so hot that it kills you. Hunger Games 1989, it's -40 in Minnesota, and we haven't lost power at all. Yeah, could you imagine Texas having to deal with this? Brenda Knoll, Christian values on display. Yeah. That's very Christ-like of him to refuse to cut back on his electrical consumption for the sake of others. Emergency remedial truth. My Jesus would want me to be a good member of the community and show concern for the welfare of others. I don't know who he's following. Yeah, in a situation like that, it would almost be better if he started rounding up some of these people desperate for shelter and bring them to a church where they could stay warm. Grand Theft Autobot, that power sharing wouldn't happen if they succeed from Canada. Just saying. I don't think they're going to be able to separate from Canada. It's not going to happen. Bad lefty, desirable how? Yeah, how are price spikes in anything desirable? I love never knowing what my bill is going to be. Yeah, I remember once there was a power outage in the winter. The salt on the roads or something got mixed up with the electrical, like it affected the electrical cables, and there was a power outage for a little bit in the winter, but luckily it wasn't too cold out. And then there was that big ice storm in Montreal during the winter. Of course, that's usually when ice storms happen, but who knows in the near future. And they were out for power for quite some time, and they had to evacuate the area and everything. Oops. Check down. Let's see. Dino Rancher, as a disabled person, I feel blessed to have stable housing. I truly feel for these people. Yeah. It's not easy getting to emergency places, like especially if your power goes out and, you know, if you need the elevator to get down, you know, you can run into problems. It's... When it comes to natural disasters, it's people with disabilities that are the most vulnerable, because there are literally situations where if you can't run, you won't live. And that's what happens with the fires a lot of the time. It's the people who aren't able to run. They can't get out. Flash flooding, that sort of thing. If they can't run, you can't get out. So it's sad. That's why if you're in an area where it's possible there could be forest fires, if you have people around you that you know wouldn't be able to make it out on their own, when you make your own escape plan, include them. Z-Myth, welcome to Canada, where you get your pick of whichever neoliberal party you want to rule. Yeah. You want to rule you. Sheldon Petrie, in Texas, not only did people die, but people didn't know how to mitigate freezing pipes to a lot of properties, got severely damaged. Yeah. When these cold snaps hit areas that aren't accustomed to them, the infrastructure isn't set up for it. Just like Alaska had a heat wave, and nobody there had air conditioning. Yeah, like we're getting weather phenomenon around the globe with infrastructure that was never designed to handle different types of weather that will hit it. Because we're throwing rocks in the pond, and when you do that, it takes a while before the water will settle again to find the new currents. So as we're throwing rocks in the environment and the climate, things are just going to go haywire and mess up. And it's going to take a long time before there's any sort of consistency once it finds a new balance. And until then, it's so unpredictable. Well, that was all on my docket that I had today. Kept that to 2 hours, just over 2 hours. That's an improvement for all the main news articles that I wanted to get to. So while I have all of you still here, mentioned that I will be taking a week off of my live streaming. So my next live stream will be Wednesday, the 24th, I believe it is. Yes, the 24th. I didn't take a break over the holidays for the people who, needed the community during a time when a lot of our regulars are not available. But I would like a bit of a break where I just focus on art, focus on starting a routine, which I already, the thought of setting my alarm clock tomorrow so that I actually get up at a certain time, I get so used to not doing it. And it's so hard to set up a schedule, a routine, when you're not forced to, at least as somebody as ADHD as me. Because when I had a regular job, I was able to maintain that schedule fine, but I was kind of forced to. So without that force, it's hard. But I do want to set up a bit of a schedule because I really want to focus on clipping these shows so that I'm releasing content every day. So a lot of it will be clips. I also still have the video essays in mind that I want to do. So I'll mix in some of my regular video essays that I've done. I can't say for sure I'm going to be completely offline over the next week because if there's, something that is just absolutely needs to be tackled live stream, then I'll probably hop back on. Or if I can get a chat with some of the people I've been wanting to chat with, then we could just have a conversation live stream, that sort of thing. But I do have some good news. Well, it's good news for me. I got enough to cover off all Frodo's vet bills. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Just got the last bit in, so the big vet bills that he caused me just a little while ago have all been paid off. Thank you. I literally could not have done it without you. It means the world, and he's eating still, not as much as I would like, but he's still being interactive with his brothers. He's still walking around. He seems fine. He's just not eating as much as he should be eating. So I'm just very grateful to still have him with me. And I hope that he's stable for now. But really, really appreciate all the support around paying off his vet bills. I still have vet bills that need to be paid off, but they were from the not-for-profit vet, where I had to take all 3 of them into. So if anybody would like to continue that help, I would appreciate it, but the main vet bills for Frodo have been covered. So thank you so much, everyone, for that. Also, I kind of wanted to just have a little bit of fun. There was a clip on the Majority Report that you have to know them. Unfortunately, you do have to know the Majority Report to know why this is so funny. But it's on the lighter side, and I kind of want to end off with something a little bit lighter. Let's get that set up. It was just super funny. And they didn't clip it, unfortunately. I had to go find it in the live stream. So people who maybe aren't regular watchers of the Majority Report and don't know the context of this, please just bear with me. It's not very long. And for those of you who do know the Majority Report, you've probably already seen this, but if not, enjoy.
Let's go to the phones. Calling from an 813 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Oh, remind me, I got to get out of here early today. A little bit.
Hello, is this me?
Yes, who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi, Sam. This is Corey from Brandon.
Corey from Brandon. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me okay? Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Can hear you. You're doing great.
Okay. Just have some patience with me. I put a lot of time into this. I just want to preface my inquiry by saying I don't have children. I'm glad I'm the first caller. It might take a little bit of time on this call.
Well, I'll be the decider of that, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I just wanted to talk about fair market and why I should have to pay for school buses, be delayed in traffic by those school buses, and then as well as pay for free school lunches for kids that aren't mine.
This could take a long time. Matt just put his head in his hands.
I'm totally kidding. I just wanted to. Oh, I've been.
You could see Sam's heart shatter right there.
You just toyed with Sam's heart. You just toyed with Sam's heart there.
I feel like I just did one of those like Arctic plunges.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I knew that would get you guys riled up with the first call. Obviously, long time, first time. Love your guys' show. You guys are absolutely amazing. We're just wondering if I can get a shofar for my birthday. It was on December 31st, but obviously you guys were.
No, you cannot, sir. No,
yes.
Oh, yes, you can. I'm joking. I'm so disappointed, though. But happy birthday.
Thank you.
That was pretty good. You got me bad.
I appreciate it.
You got me bad.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I put a lot of time into it, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, you know, really good, actually. And just every aspect of the whole thing. You set that up.
What is it?
Perfect.
We fucking nailed it.
Yeah, right.
Well, now I demonetized your show, so I'm sorry for that.
No, you're all good.
That was good. That was pretty good. I appreciate it, Colin.
All right. Well, left is best. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye. That was good. Vermont Ben, 10 of 10 caller. Yep. That was really impressive. Because the way that he sort of launched into it,
being nervous
and also like I'm going to
the preface.
Yes. The sort of the level of sort of like narcissism that's associated with libertarianism. Like this is going to take a long time.
Yeah. Also the fixation on children. I would imagine if he went further, there could be some birth rate things involved.
Have you read my email? I could hear Sam's heart shatter from here, and I'm in Europe. That was really well done. I mean, there was a lot of that was well done.
Yeah.
Call from the 614 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Whatever.
That was fun. It's just you have to know Sam. You have to know that he loves his libertarian debates, and there haven't been many of them, and he's been looking forward to them. And that guy did set up that call pretty good, and it just broke Sam's heart that it wasn't a real libertarian. That was funny. Yeah, for those of you who know, the majority reporting Sam, you get the context, and it's fun. Just a little bit fun. Thank you so much, Dino Rancher, for the $2. I can't afford much on a fixed income. Bless you. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And please, only if you have the money. I don't want people sacrificing anything they need to come towards my content. Because I understand it all too well, living with poverty. Yeah, because one of my goals this year is to hopefully get my art and my YouTube channel going enough that I actually have a semi-stable income, which means a lot of work has to be done, which is part of the reason why I plan on clipping shows more often. Well, let's just say plan on clipping shows and posting more often. I think I'm going to try to bug other leftists more often to get onto their shows, but I really do not know the etiquette behind it. I don't know what is normal when it comes to networking, like what's appropriate and how you do it. I don't know if it's normal for people to reach out to lefty content creators or for them to reach out to people they want on their show. I don't know how that works. I'm horrible at networking. I'm also, one of my goals is to actually buckle down and try to get my book published after the disappointment I suffered with that. I just run into a problem where a lot of the self-publishers, it would be on me to promote it, and I'm publishing it under a pen name, and that is for safety reasons. So I won't be able to promote it on my channel or Twitter. So I don't know if I have to bite the bullet on that one and just do it that way. So it's, yeah. It's figuring out, like, I don't know online etiquette. I don't know in-person etiquette. I'm just horrible with etiquette when it comes to networking and trying to figure out how to get on their shows just to raise my profile a little bit more. Really helps to have patrons sign up. You can, let's do that. Yeah, really helps to get patrons because YouTube will not be a reliable monetization income source. A lot of my videos will be demonetized. I had my last live stream demonetized because of the controversial nature of the subject matter. And I imagine a lot of my videos will be like that. Also, I always run the risk of them just demonetizing my channel. So it's more stable if you have the ability to become a patron. And that way I don't have to worry about monetizing on YouTube. And, if there's even enough, then I could really stop adding ads or allowing, well, I can turn off as much ads as possible because I wouldn't have to worry about getting that ad revenue. Because that's the thing, like, even if I were to shut off all ads on my channel and demonetize my channel myself, YouTube will still run ads during my content to make money. So I can demonetize myself, but YouTube will still use my content to make money. And there's just something not cool about that. To use all these content creators to make money for them. Let's see. But I'm going to try to reach out to people to get them on my show. Again, I just don't know what's appropriate because I've reached out to some people before and then I just don't hear back from them. And do I bug them again? Is that okay? I don't know. Just trying to think if there was anything else. I feel like there was a point that I wanted to make in one of these stories that I've just completely slipped my mind. But we got to some good news and stuff. Let's check chat. Bad Lefty wants to watch it again. You can go to the live stream. It's on their YouTube channel. Just go to, it was January 8th. You have to go to the link to the Fun Half link. And it's about the, go to like the 153 mark. 152 mark, and you'll get it. And you can just play it on repeat. They had somebody hack their Twitter account recently. It's funny. I actually responded with the best response, and of course I didn't get noticed for it. Yeah, they were hacked and seems to have, so the majority report sending out a tweet, we got hacked and seem to have regained control of our account, but for our ability to change our name, we are huddled at Majority Report HQ debating whether to seek Twitter X support or if it's easier to just change the name of our show to Ape Terminal. Stay tuned. So the name up here was Ape Terminal. For a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I just got like a whole bunch of MR merch. And so now are you telling me I'm going to have to like buy all new MR, like new merch that's Ape Terminal branded? It's just their sick way of getting people to buy more from their store is what I think it is. Left is bananas. I'm glad they were able to get their account back. Bad Lefty, I will reach out to them. I just have, I don't know how much is appropriate. Like, I don't know when it becomes pestering. I don't know, because I know a lot of people, especially people I'd be interested in talking to, are a little bit ADHD as well, and will completely forget that they've seen my message and might think to themselves, oh yes, I'll do that, but then completely forget. And so reaching out to them again is actually a good, helpful reminder. But then there are other people who might just think I'm pestering them. And that's not what I'm trying to do. So it's trying to figure out, like, who can I reach out to multiple times and who would think that's pestering. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to get you guys to work for me and tell other lefty content creators to have me. So it's not coming from just me. Let's see. It skipped. Where was it? I keep on scrolling in the chat and will skip every now and then when I'm scrolling. It's annoying. Grand Theft Autobot. Not all Americans. I still remember faux news calling Canada communist because of our healthcare system and how fucker Carlson wanted to invade Canada. Yeah, I did some Rebel HQ videos about that sort of stuff. Ah, it keeps skipping. Where did it go? Where did it go? There we are. Monope, LOL, my partner gets so much done in America with the I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, I don't know how all this works line. Sorry, boot daddy. I'm just a simple Canadian, I don't know how that works. You think I wouldn't use that excuse if I was ever on the highways and they're like, you were speeding, and I'm like, oh, my bad, I forgot to switch over to miles. I'm just a silly Canadian. I could have a lot of fun on an American show. Well, I was doing that when I was on the Rebel HQ, where I would throw in jokes where only Canadians would know the joke, or know that there's not the joke. Like Canadian idioms that I would just make up. But it's like Americans don't know if we actually say that or not, so it's a lot of fun to tease. My dogs are goth. You look awesome today, Sandy. Why, thank you. This is my relaxed, cozy look. I like doing all sorts of looks. Okay, so I don't really have anything else, I don't think. Okay, it's bugging me. There was something I wanted to say and related to like one of the stories or something. It was like a brilliant point too, like genius level point, but I can't seem to remember it, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, and it's just going to bug me for a long time. So oh, just on time. We have Lanier and his cute little goatee. You show everyone your cute little goatee? Yeah, he has that cute little fin goatee thing going on right there that I always love to tug at, and he gets annoyed. Ugh. This is Lanier. Okay, well, let's see if I can sign off doing all of these things here. Yeah, so as always, you can follow me on the social medias. Basically Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Always on Twitter. I have my art website, which I'm hoping I'll be able to add to in the near future, because I'll be, let's get you actually in the picture. I just want to focus on a lot of my artwork over the next week. That's part of the reason why I want to take the week off, is to just focus on drawing and doing artwork. Such a baby. Such a baby. I don't know if you can hear him purring, if it's actually in the register or not. Trying to purr into the mic. Yeah, also, again, Patreon, if you can. Thank you so much to the people who've already become a patron, to the people who have gotten me things off my Amazon wish list, which is also linked below. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate every little bit that comes off that list. Even something as simple as a bag of M&Ms helps to brighten my day and just lets me know that, you know, I'm appreciated. But, you know, I don't have any intention of stopping these live streams, of trying to get my voice out there, getting heard, because there's so much going on that needs attention to. And, you know, hopefully with all of your support, one day this channel can actually make a lot of noise. Make a lot of noise, get noticed, get attention, and start making a difference on a larger scale, which is hope. And thank you to all the mods for keeping the sandbox clean of trash. So until January 24th, providing I can manage to keep myself away from it. Can you hear the purrs? Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.